Welcome to the Rockabye Revenue Podcast with me, Abby Watson. I'm a mum of 4 and a business strategist, and I train people to become hypnobirthing teachers. In the last decade, I've built a thriving baby business that grew beyond my wildest dreams. This podcast is for you if you run a business or dream of running a business in the birth and baby industry. You want to change lives whilst making more money. I'm talking about creating sustainable income whilst being present for the people that matter most. I believe for our baby businesses to have the impact we desire, we must be rewarded. On this podcast, expect me to share actionable strategies without the jargon. I've been where you are. I've built a business while raising 4 little ones, and now I'm here to help you turn your passion into profit while creating the life you've always dreamed of. So let's get started. Hello, lovely one. How are you doing today? I am coming on to talk about something that I don't think we talk about enough. We talk about, grabbing opportunities, being confident enough to say yes. But actually, I want to talk about something that is even braver, and that is saying no. Saying no to opportunities. When we might do it, how hard it can be, and actually why it's so important if we want a business that grows, that is successful sustainably. Now, I want to take you back to a time in my own business. Now, this was a time when I had 3 very young children. My hypnobirthing business was absolutely booming. I was filling 2 group courses a month, and I had more one-to-one clients than actually I wanted. My diary was very busy, and I felt like totally over the moon that my business had worked out so well, and I was in a position where it was bringing in more than my part-time secondary school teaching job, yet I was able to be at home with my babies, and I felt ultimately like I wasn't missing out. I was able to be the mum that I wanted to be ultimately. So at this point in my business, life was good. It really was. And in my local area, there was a cafe being opened, and it had a huge amount of hype around it. It was it wasn't a mum and baby cafe, it was a parent and baby cafe. And it was focused on being that hub for local services and being that place to be on maternity leave. And obviously there was a huge hype around it. And obviously, as a baby business owner, my eye was very firmly on that place. Now, the guy that was launching this new business, this new fab thing in the community, asked if I wanted to go for coffee. And of course, I jumped at the chance. Wouldn't it be fantastic to network with somebody who was going to be at the forefront of this very, new and wonderful venture that was very much in my industry? And of course, I was honoured that, he'd found me and identified me and my business as someone that it was worth connecting with. So, of course, I went along. And yeah, I was totally nervous. Of course I was. I've said on this podcast many times before, as much as, I've got a pretty great business, I am very much a lone ranger. I'm very much a person who keeps myself to myself and is pretty nervous of networking, and can definitely feel imposter syndrome too. So I had all the nerves, but I put my big girl pants on and I went and I met this guy for coffee. And he was really friendly, and we chatted about all sorts of things. And then he said to me, I'd love for you to run hypnobirthing courses from this new venue. It would be the perfect venue to run your courses. And, with the launch of this new venue, it would get, more bums on your seats. And of course, when he said it, I felt absolutely elated. I was like, oh, wow, like, fancy choosing me, what a great opportunity. How fab would that be? So, of course, I said, I'm really interested. I'm going to go away and I'm going to think about it, and I'll be back to you ASAP. So that's what I did. I went away and I thought about it. And I was really excited, and I was obviously telling my husband about this and, what a great opportunity it was and how honoured I was to have been chosen. And he said to me, which I'm so thankful, looking back, he said, how will this benefit your business, Abby? And he wasn't being challenging. It was just a general question. Like, how will this benefit your business? And immediately I thought, well, it'll get more eyes on my business, And he says, do you need more eyes? I was like, oh, actually, things are going well. And it really made me sit and think. It made the noise of the excitement and the feeling honoured kind of step to a side, and instead I started thinking practically about it. Now, at that time, I was running a monthly group course in that very area, but I was using my home for that course. Did I want to move my home course to this venue? No, because I loved teaching hypnobirthing at home. I loved the sense of control it gave me. I loved the homely touches. The feedback from my clients had been fabulous. So actually, I wasn't on the lookout for an alternative venue. When I thought about his venue that I didn't actually know much about, the aesthetics, I couldn't really be sure that it would be something that would suit the brand that I was creating, that I'd spent a long time creating. So it made me really think about this. And as I thought about, would I want to move my home course there and what the benefit of that would be, there didn't seem to be many benefits, because actually, my courses were filling up well. Why change what's already working? In addition, from a business perspective, using my home was costing me nothing apart from having to avoid spag bol, fajitas and fish in the 2 nights before my course to avoid those offensive smells. That's all using that venue was costing me. This new venue would of course have a higher charge attached to it that I currently didn't have. I currently didn't have to pay that. So this would be a new expense. So immediately I thought, oh, this is going to be a no. But then there was this little voice in my head like, Abby, if you say no, somebody else will say yeah. If you say no, somebody else will say yes, and they will have loads of success there, and that will absolutely impact your business. That's what the little voice in my head said. And because of that little voice, I again teetered on saying yes. Oh my gosh, FOMO. FOMO was making me nearly say yes. Now, thankfully, my rational mind stuck up for itself and dared to say no to this opportunity. And my goodness, I am so glad that I did. What would saying yes to that opportunity have cost me? Well, yes, there was the financial cost, but there have been so many other costs. The disruption to my business, the lack of control that I'd become so fond of, not fond of lack of control, but fond of the control that teaching at home gave me. The reputation I developed as this, hypnobirthing teacher that offered these lovely homely courses on the settee. The fact that my clients loved coming back to my home after they'd had their babies to join my monthly catch-ups because they had such an association. I'd have been saying yes to this opportunity, but saying no to all those things. Now, I'm sharing this story because I know it's so easy to feel that you have to say yes to everything that comes your way. I know that sometimes FOMO, fear of missing out, can make us say yes to things that actually maybe we should have said no to. And I want you to remember that saying yes usually means that we are saying no to other things. So whilst we might feel like, wow, we're doing the great thing by agreeing to things in our businesses, we're, embracing every opportunity by saying yes, the consequence is that we have to say no to other things. Maybe not outright, but we just don't have capacity for the other things because our time and focus is taken with this new thing. So as much as new things can feel shiny and new, exciting, they can almost like rub our ego, especially if we've been chosen for an opportunity. I want you to, if you've been offered something, take time to think about it. Allow time to rationally come out of that place of feeling honoured and really think about the pros and cons of saying yes. And if actually the cons outweigh the pros, maybe the best thing you can do for your business is to say no. And that's okay. That's totally okay. And I tell you what, in my experience of running a successful business in the last decade, a lot of great things have come from saying no. Saying no can help you grow your business. Saying no to the things that might actually be a distraction. Saying no to the things that could be a real time sucker and might not be aligned with the future vision you have of your business. Saying no might allow you to focus on the things that are important to you and your clients rather than the things that somebody else has told you should be focusing on. So there's my thoughts for today. Saying no isn't bad. In actual fact, saying no could be the secret to success in having a sustainable and impactful business. Your time, your energy, your vision matters. It's okay to prioritize what all that needs rather than feeling you have to say yes to everything. So have a lovely day, my lovely one. I hope you are enjoying your week and I hope wonderful opportunities come your way and you get to be the one that makes that informed decision of whether this is right for you, your business, and your clients. Have a great week, lovely one. See you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to Rockabye Revenue. I hope this episode has left you with some fresh ideas and bundles of motivation. If you enjoyed this episode, do make sure you click subscribe so you never miss an installment. And if you found this episode useful, I'd love you forever if you leave a 5-star review, helping this podcast reach the ears of more of the helpers in this world. And remember, keep changing lives. See you next time.